2023 meeting of the Environmental Management Commission, and do acknowledge we do have a quorum, and so we'll start with item number 1 on the agenda, consideration of the minutes held on October 13th, 2023. Chair notes agenda item 1 is consideration of the minutes of the commission meeting held on that date. And I'll entertain a motion regarding those minutes.
Do we adopt the minutes?
Second.
All right. Have a second, a motion and a second. Any discussion on anything about that? All right. Call for the question. All in favor, raise your hand. And any opposed? Carries. All right. On to item number 2, report from the director. Lance?
Good morning, and welcome to all of you who are here at the second meeting of the Alabama Environmental Management Commission for FY 2024. Before beginning my report, I'm pleased to welcome Dr. J. Patrick Tucker as the newly appointed member of the Alabama Environmental Management Commission, serving in the physician position. Welcome, Dr. Tucker.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to follow in Dr. Miller's footsteps and serve with this distinguished group of commissioners.
Okay, welcome aboard. Today's report will be an update on several internal ADEM initiatives involving our FY 2025 general fund budget, the Mobile Field Office, our CCR program approval, the Ozone Transport State Implementation Plan, and the 5-year Unified Strategic Plan. I'll also introduce you to several of our personnel who have achieved a milestone in their professional development. We begin with the department's FY 2025 budget. ADEM has 3 sources of funding: fees from regulated industries, 54% of our budget. The regulated industry fee schedule has been the same since 2016. Federal funding through EPA, 40% of our budget. Federal funding has been roughly the same since 2010. And the Alabama General Fund, 6% of our budget. The department has received a general fund appropriation of $4 million per year for 4 years, and $5 million for FY 2024. Aside from the $1 million increased general fund appropriation for FY 2024 to partially cover the state government-wide cost of living salary adjustments, the department has had no increased funding for 5 years. Our total annual operating budget is approximately $65 million. And in 2020, the year of the last material funding increase, ADEM funding was ranked last in the nation on a per capita basis. Applying inflation for the last 5 years would result in an additional $14 million to maintain constant purchasing power. The $14 million does not include any funding for increased mandates for such things as PFAS regulation. For FY 2025, the department as a whole has a funding shortfall, and it is most pronounced in the water program because, unlike the land and air programs, water does not have a statutory funding source to supplement the funding from EPA and existing permit fees. In the past, where allowable, the department has reallocated some of the funding from the air and land programs to the water program to help keep it afloat, but inflation-driven cost increases for air and land in FY 2025 will make that no longer practical. In FY 2025, there will be at least a $6 million shortfall in the water program. The water program funding shortfall raises several concerns for the regulated community and others. Potentially unstable or reduced ability to provide acceptable water regulatory oversight is a concern. That leads to the prospect of an increased presence of less responsive federal involvement through EPA if the department is unable to meet water program performance standards. A funding shortfall also increases the possibility of increased capital and operating costs to industry for tighter water permit limits due to potentially declining water quality. Several options are under consideration to address the water program funding shortfall. One is a modest monthly fee on drinking water utilities based on the number of customers. This option, which would require legislation, was proposed in the 2023 legislative session, but failed to garner the necessary support to be successful. A second option is to increase water permit fees. To achieve the $6 million increase needed by the water program, it would require the Commission to increase water permit fees by 70 to 80%. The final option being considered is to seek a $6 million increase in the Department's FY 2025 general fund appropriation. Various groups, including those representing local governments, business, and industry, are supporting this option. We are still early in the process, and I'll keep the Commission informed of our progress. Now to our Mobile field office and lab. As you're well aware, the existing physical plant facilities in Mobile have been in deplorable condition for many years. In 2010, shortly after the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, we began a concerted effort to replace the two facilities, one owned and one leased, housing the Mobile field office, lab, and coastal program, with a single modern facility. After more than a dozen years of planning, obtaining funding, an extensive design process, and construction, we are now down to the final construction punch list items. Substantial completion, which will allow occupancy, is scheduled to occur by year-end. Furniture and most of the equipment are in place and move-in has begun. The closing of the two existing offices will occur when the move-in is complete. A bidding process will begin shortly for the sale of the old owned location on Perimeter Road in Mobile. The building is designed to be functional with little unused space for such things as atriums. Although the building is highly functional, it is designed to make abundant use of natural light and to be an aesthetically pleasing contemporary institutional building that will stand the test of time. The distinctive curved fronting walls highlight changing shadows throughout the day and the seasons to remind one of the natural movements of sun, clouds, and rain in the hydrologic cycle on display in the region of the state that will be served by the facility. The design incorporates elements such as rubber modified asphalt using scrap tire material in paved areas, stormwater infiltration, and other features that help us practice what we preach in environmental responsibility. A formal ribbon cutting is scheduled for January 24. More on that in the next few weeks. Okay. I have a brief drone video of the exterior of the building to play for you now, and I'll see if I can keep up with it. This is coming in from the western point. It's the roadway is our fronting road coming into the facility. This is a close-up of the front of the building with the curved wall. Moving down the north side of the building, those windows are in the offices on the north side of the building. This is a shot from distance on the eastern side. You can see the boat shed in the back. That's Mobile Bay in the background, and coming forward, the boat shed, and we see the building from the Broad Street side with the curved front there. Coming again down the north side of the offices, you see the light coming into the offices. We have electric vehicle charging stations. Here some folks are doing some last minute work on the boat shed, and an overhead view where you see the parking area on the right and the pavement that goes all the way around coming to the front of the building. This is on the south side. The curved, smaller wall there is the beginning of the lab, and the other windows show the southern office in the building on the other side. And once again, we finish up here with the signage in the front, and you can see it reflects the same curvature and design of the front of the building. So that was a quick drone view. I also have several slides showing some of the interior of the building. This first one shows the reception area with the front door on the right. You can't quite see the front door in this particular slide. As you see, final cleanup is underway. You see the signage for the dedication of the building. This next slide is a view of one of the two interior hallways. The north side windowed offices are on the left, and the interior offices are on the right. A similar hallway is on the south side of the building. Finally, here is a view of the lab benches, the vent hoods, and various workstations for instruments such as ion and mercury analyzers, ICP, mass spectrometer, PC titration, and spectrophotometer are out of view to the right foreground. Final punch list items and cleanup are underway here also. Moving on now to two legal matters involving the department and EPA. In 2015, the EPA federal rule regarding the regulation of coal combustion residuals, CCR, sometimes called coal ash, impoundments became final. In 2018, the Alabama Environmental Management Commission adopted a state rule for the rate to regulate CCR units in Alabama. The state rule was patterned after the federal rule, with the additional provision not in the federal rule for the issuance of permits for the operation and closure of CCR units, which are the subject of the federal and state rules. In cooperation with EPA during the next 2 years, the initial state rule was updated to affirm that the state rule was at least as protective as the federal rule, so the state could be delegated the sole authority to oversee the regulation of CCR units in Alabama. In December of 21, the department submitted the final application to EPA for approval of the ADEM program to close CCR units in Alabama. EPA was required to act on the application within 180 days. EPA did not act on the application, and after more than 400 days, the department petitioned the D.C. Circuit of the United States Court of Appeals to compel EPA to act. In September of this year, more than 600 days after the application was submitted, EPA proposed to deny the application based not on the ADEM CCR rule, but on the claim that state permits issued for the closure of CCR units did not comport with EPA's new interpretation of the federal and state rules. The department and numerous other parties strongly disagree with EPA's novel new interpretations that are inconsistent with long-standing and widely accepted practice. The essence of the objections to the new interpretations include: EPA added the approval of permits as a requirement for program approval, which is not part of the federal rule. EPA has no standards for CCR permits and has no CCR permitting program of its own to compare to state permits. EPA had ample opportunity to raise its alleged concerns during extensive communication with ADEM and during the comment period for each permit, but it did not do so. EPA has created more stringent requirements for managing CCR than for managing hazardous waste, even though EPA has determined CCR is not hazardous. EPA arbitrarily changed the definition of free liquids and infiltration when closing CCR units from the long-standing definitions used in the federal and state CCR rules and in all other areas of EPA regulation. EPA did not go through the required rulemaking process to authorize these and other new interpretations applied to the ADEM CCR permits. Additionally, EPA did not consider the environmental, economic, practical, and potentially adverse impacts on disadvantaged communities of requiring the only other method to address CCR impoundment closure. EPA told the D.C. Circuit Court that it planned to act by December 31, 2023. It has not acted to finally deny or approve the ADEM CCR program as of today. If EPA finalizes the proposed denial, the department plans to appeal that decision. A second matter where the department is in conflict with EPA is the EPA denial of the Alabama Ozone Transport State Implementation Plan, or SIP. Ozone is created when combustion from sources such as gasoline-powered automobiles and electric generating utilities create oxides of nitrogen, which are precursors of ozone. Ozone can be harmful to individuals, especially those with respiratory problems. EPA's Good Neighbor Plan, as it's known, requires states to further control ozone precursors emitted in their state if ozone generated in the state has a significant impact on a downwind state. Based on EPA modeling in 2015, Alabama was determined not to have significant impact on any downwind state. ADEM therefore submitted a state implementation plan that did not include any additional restrictions on existing emissions of nitrogen oxides in Alabama. EPA proposed approval of the Alabama Ozone Transport SIP, but later EPA delayed the formal approval, citing the COVID-19 pandemic. In the spring of 2022, EPA denied Alabama and 18 other state implementation plans. The department, like other states, is appealing that denial. The reasons for ADEM's appeal include: in 2020, EPA revised its ozone transport modeling without consulting the states or allowing the states to revise their state implementation plans. EPA also, without going through necessary rulemaking, arbitrarily reduced the threshold of what it considers significant impact, which led to the supposed significant impacts from Alabama ozone transport to the Houston, Galveston, Texas area. As a result, the 19 states, including Alabama, had their ozone transport state implementation plans denied, which meant those states would be required to operate under a federal implementation plan over which the states would have no say. The status, the status of the appeal is EPA's action is being challenged in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and D.C. circuits of the U.S. Court of Appeals, in addition to our appeal in the 11th Circuit Court. As of today, the 11th Circuit has ruled that the appeal filed by electric generating utilities in Alabama can be consolidated with the ADEM appeal in a single action, and the federal implementation plan is stayed. The court has not yet acted on maintaining venue in the 11th Circuit, nor on the merits of the case. The department has never before filed suit against EPA. These two legal actions are both based on EPA changing rules and interpretations without going through the required notice, comment, and, if necessary, appeal process. The Alabama Attorney General has concurred in both actions. Final resolution may require many months. At the October Commission meeting, the Unified Strategic Plan Ad Hoc Committee presented a proposed 2024 update to the 2019 5-year Unified Strategic Plan. Each member of the commission received a copy of the proposed updated plan with changes highlighted in red. The commissioners were asked to suggest any additional changes they wish to make. The copy in your folders is the final version that incorporates all changes from the department and members of the commission. Later in the agenda, the commission will vote on whether to approve the 2024 update to the 5-year Unified Strategic Plan. If the commission approves the new plan, it will be posted on the ADEM website and made available to any interested party. Several objectives in the Unified Strategic Plan and the department's annual operating plans relate to encouraging our personnel to undertake professional development, and when they reach significant milestones, to recognize their achievements. I have the pleasure of introducing you to 9 individuals who are helping to achieve the objective of professional development. Completing the Certified Public Manager 1, CPM 1, and the Advanced Certified Public Manager 2, CPM 2 programs prepare our professional staff to become future leaders. And when I call your name, please stand and remain standing. I don't know if everybody's in the room today. Crystal Collins in our Land Division. Crystal. Devin Jenkins in our Water Division. Devin. William McClamis in our Water Division. Christina Stram, sorry, in our Field Operations Division. She's not with us today. These are the folks completing the CPM 1 program. Please keep standing, keep standing. And those completing the CPM 2 program, Beth Beelan. I see Beth, okay. Mishka Kornara, there she is, Mishka. In our Field Operations Division, in the laboratory. James French, not here today, but Permit Services Division, and Crystal Thompson in Permits and Services Division. Y'all, thank you and congratulations on your work. I know it was a lot of hard work. You see, y'all are our leaders of tomorrow, and it's important what you've been doing. I'm also pleased to introduce you to Caden Washington in our Water Division, who through extensive formal education, on-the-job experience, and rigorous testing, has earned the highly prized accreditation of professional engineer. Caden, please accept your well-deserved congratulations. Finally, I'm pleased to introduce you to Todd Carter, our new General Counsel. You all, good morning. We have 7 attorneys in our Office of General Counsel. On previous occasions, you've seen Todd at commission meetings from time to time. Our previous General Counsel has moved over to the Attorney General's office. So Todd has been moved up into our management position in General Counsel and is our lead counsel. He has extensive experience in the legal area. He's been with the department for 15 years, right? 15.
That is correct.
Okay. And the transition has been virtually seamless so far. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Well, that concludes today's report. If there are any questions, I'd be pleased to address them.
I'll just make one comment about modeling. This comes from a guy named Steve Coonan, so I plagiarized this. He's a modeler. Talking about air models, Ron and Jeff, water models, even too. All models are wrong, but some are useful.
They make assumptions.
Make assumptions, you have to, but we've got some good folks here. I can attest to that handle that part of it. So.
I agree with that.
That's right, exactly. Okay, I will hold a report or more comments till the end from agenda item number 3, a report from the commission chair. So I'll have a few things to say at the very end. Agenda item 4 is consideration of adoption of the draft 2024 AEMC ADEM Unified Strategic Plan. And the chair states that the agenda item 4 should have said consideration of approval of the draft 2024 AEMC ADEM Unified Strategic Plan. So if you have an early version of the agenda, it's probably going to say that, but that's been corrected. So the chair notes that agenda item 4 is consideration of the recommendation of the Strategic Planning Ad Hoc Committee and approval of the draft 2024 AEMC ADEM Unified Strategic Plan. And note that the committee recommends that the commission approve the strategic plan. So I'll entertain a motion regarding adoption of the recommendations of the strategic plan by the ad hoc committee and approval of such.
Move to adopt. Second.
Okay.
Chair, you want to clarify that you're doing approval of the plan in your motion?
Yeah, so the motion needs to read where we have stated approval.
Move to approve the unified
Okay.
2024.
Lindsay, Debbie, will that handle that? Okay. Just got to get the wording right, so I know the intent is there. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, raise your hand. And any opposed? Passes unanimously. While we're getting that signed, I hate to hear our water division is so underfunded, so Jeff, maybe y'all could apply for a BIL grant or something, ARPA money maybe. Would that work, Lance? Hopefully we get that straight in years to come. Okay, on to agenda item 5, consideration of proposed amendments to ADEM Administrative Code Division 335-3, Air Pollution Control Program regulations. Note that the agenda item 5 is consideration of these amendments, Air Pollution Control Program, and call for the department's comments on such. Ron? Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ron Gore with the Department's Air Division. I'm here to ask you to make some changes to the air regulations. The proposed changes lie in 4 broad areas. One is kind of like a catch-up to a bunch of EPA rules that we adopt by reference and enforce on behalf of the EPA like most of the programs do. The second is some routine numbering, typographical error changes. Third is a elimination of startup, shutdown, and malfunction from the air rules as being possible to be exempted from regulation. That we're proposing to take that off the books at the insistence of EPA. And last, to make some changes to something called transportation conformity, which means that state, local, and county officials and federal officials have to collaborate in making transportation plans for Jefferson County, building new highway lanes, new overpasses, and so on. So we had a public comment period that lasted from August the 24th through October the 13th. There were no verbal comments at the public hearing. We received comments from 2 parties in writing afterwards. Those comments have been reconciled in your record. And given all that, pending any questions, I ask that you adopt these rules on behalf of the department.
Okay, do I hear a motion to adopt the rules for the Air Pollution Control Program regs?
To adopt.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Call for the question. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. We should have some Christmas music playing in the background while we're doing this or something. Okay, moving on to agenda item 6, consideration of proposed amendments to ADEM Administrative Code Division 335-5, Uniform Environmental Covenants Program, and have comments from the department. So, Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, Commissioners. I'm Stephen Cobb, Chief of the Land Division, and here today to recommend that the Commission adopt amendments to the Department's Division 5 Uniform Environmental Covenants Program regulations. Revisions to this division are being proposed to comply with updated state law from recent legislative sessions. Changes to Chapter 1 include updating the definition of environmental response projects and to exclude underground storage tank sites covered under 335-6-15 and 335-6-16 regulations. In addition, Chapter 2 amended the requirements for environmental covenant contents to include a provision for the release of grantors from future claims by grantees and their successors. The proposed revisions were the subject of a public comment period, which ran from August 27th, 2023 to October 12th of this year. A public hearing was held at the department on October 12th. No oral comments were received during the hearing, and no written comments were received during the comment period. The revised regulations are presented to you today for your consideration. The department asks that the Commission adopt these changes to the Division 5 Uniform Environmental Covenants Program, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Sounds like everybody understands all that. So I'll call for the question for motion from the Commission regarding the proposed amendments to the Uniform Environmental Covenants Program regs.
Move to adopt the proposed amendment.
All right.
Second.
Here a second. Any discussion? All right. Call for the question. All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Passes. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 7, consideration of proposed amendments to ADEM Administrative Code Division 335-6, Volume 2, Water Quality Program regulations related to USTs. Steve?
Yes. Thank you. I'm also here today to recommend that the Commission adopt amendments to the Department's Division 6, Volume 2, Chapter 16, Administrative Guidelines and Procedures for the Alabama Underground and Above Ground Storage Tank Trust Fund regulations. Revisions to the Division 335-6 are being proposed to make changes to the trust fund fee and charge, the per occurrence indemnification limits, and the certification statement and signature requirements in the applications to reduce the administrative burden of owners and operators seeking reimbursement of eligible trust fund cost. These changes were previously recommended and approved by the Alabama Underground and Above Ground Storage Tank Trust Fund Management Board on July 18th, 2023. The proposed revisions were the subject of a public comment period, which ran from August 27, 2023 to October 17, 2023. Public hearing was held at the department on October 17th. No oral comments were received during the hearing, and no written comments were received during the public comment period. Again, the revised regulations are presented to you today for your consideration. We ask that the Commission adopt the proposed changes to the Division 6, Chapter 16 Administrative Guidelines and Procedures for the Alabama Underground and Above Ground Storage Tank Trust Fund, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on these.
I have one or two, maybe, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, Steve, if this is something that's down in the weeds, but the fees are based on what? Is it gallonage or sites or?
The trust fund fee and charge is based on the gallons of fuel that are removed from the storage facilities to go to the tanks, and that charge was reduced by the Tank Trust Fund Board from 0.012 cents per gallon to 0.01 cents per gallon, based on their routine evaluation of what the funding level for the trust fund is and where that fee needs to be adjusted.
Okay. And the indemnification limits, what?
Yes, the indemnification limits previously have been $1.75 million per occurrence allowable, and that was raised to $2 million per occurrence.
Not many things are going down, are they?
No.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions or anything for Mr. Cobb? All right, I'll entertain a motion from the commission regarding the proposed amendments to Division 335-6, Volume 2, Water Quality Program related to USTs.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? If not, we'll call for the question. All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, item number 8, any other business to come before the commission? Not hearing any. Agenda item number 9 is future business sessions. We will meet the same time, 11 o'clock, same place here on the dates given of February, for the coming year, for February 9th, April 12th, June 14th, August 9th, October 11th, and December 13th. Lance, were all of these meetings going to be here? I know there was some talk of maybe one being elsewhere, or all are schedules for here as far as you know for now?
We're working on plans to see if we might be able to have a meeting down in Mobile at the new Mobile field office, but that one's still in
Pending.
the process of planning.
Okay, all right.
But
good.
we'll get back to the commission and see if that
Yeah.
fits
It,
everyone's schedule.
it's a beautiful building. I'd like everyone to see that. It's done a nice job on it. All right, so I'll Chair notes it. I'll entertain a motion from the commission regarding adoption of these meeting dates, time, and location.
Move to adopt the proposed meeting date, time, and location.
Here, a second.
Second.
All right, any more discussion? All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? It passes. Okay, going to the public comment period. I don't believe we had any folks registered to speak. They're all out Christmas shopping, I'm assuming. All right, and you know that motion takes precedence over any other motion. My lawyer friend here. Yeah, I want to, if I could hold that motion for a second here. Nobody seconded anyway. Yeah, I just want to say I, too, formally want to welcome Dr. Tucker on the commission, and a great asset and kind of unique. He's from North Alabama, Scottsboro area, but went to medical school at USA in Mobile and has kids and family down there. So, you know, he gets to understand all the coastal issues as well as the mountain issues. So, great asset to us, and looking forward to working with you. So thank you for doing this. And that's really all. You know, we have a time of year that they call it, you know, peace on earth and goodwill towards others. And unfortunately, in Israel, Christmas this year is not going to be anything like the first Christmas. So keep those peoples in your prayers, in Ukraine and other places, and kind of puts in perspective what we do. It's very important that we, you know, attend to the natural resources and environment of our state. And we couldn't have a better department that does that. I don't say that because they're sitting out here, but I've worked with other states from California to Massachusetts. We have a team, I can tell you here. So thank you all, Lance and Marilyn, and all of you all in the audience here and streaming. So with that said, do have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Very well said. I renew my motion.
Does anybody want to second that? Second. All right, have a second. Nobody's going to discuss it, I'm sure, but if you do, have at it. All right, all in favor, raise your hand. Everybody, any opposed? So we stand adjourned. Thank y'all.